Hello, welcome to Talkin Kop. It's me, Chris Brack, and I'm with my mates Kev and Ashley. Premier League started, Kev. Man United won 1-0 while playing shite, so Premier League is back. Gary Neville got all excited, and Liverpool have signed nobody while I've been on holiday, and I've seen the fun that's caused. So other than that, normal day.
Normal day, yeah. Look, in fairness, I am speaking to you. Shut up, you. Don't give me that. Am I frozen already?
No, you're good.
I just want you.
This better not be. Don't. I'm not in the mood. I swear to God. After the week that we've just put down with signings and transfers and gossip and nothing happening, I'm in fierce bad form this week. Honest to God. But after watching that, it's normal service resumed. Manchester United scraped a 1-0 win at home against the mighty powerhouses from London that are Fulham. And the Premier League is back with a whimper.
Yep, pretty much.
Certainly isn't back with a bang anyway, that's for sure.
And actually, from your perspective, obviously we've not spoken for over a week, so have you found this week? I've had a lovely week, but I've not been involved in the football world. I've just been enjoying my holiday, so I've been all right.
It's been a balancing act. I think it's very tempting to go down the deep, dark black hole that is LFC Twitter right now, and I think any sort of social media right now feels very much like a black hole. But I'm trying for as long as possible to stay positive because I have no idea how I'm going to feel at the end of this window.
Scouts a beat. Cranky Kev, and the ball's not even been kicked yet. I know, Kev. We've got to place like Scouts beat. We've got to do post match with Kev tomorrow, so you better fucking win.
Tomorrow will be fine. Tomorrow will be good because we'll break that hoodoo tomorrow of Liverpool managers on their first game getting a win. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. It'll be the first one since Graham Souness. God. No, I don't know if that's a good omen or not.
As Mo would say, records are there to be broken.
Very much so. Very much so. So let's start with one sort of, a link that doesn't seem to go away, which is, I'm going to say the keeper from Valencia, because quite frankly, I'm not even going to attempt to say his name, because as Kev knows, and you know, I can't pronounce many footballers' names. It seemed...
Billy.
Well done.
Rocket science.
Here we go.
There we go. It seemed at one point it was a bit in the balance, people saying certain foreign journalists saying Liverpool won't pay the money, and then it's now apparently Liverpool are in the final stages of getting the deal agreed. Cards on the table. I'm sure it's very good future planning for just in case Alisson is indicating he doesn't want to stay beyond his next contract. But I've got to be fair honest, I'm not that arsed because I'm a bit like, it doesn't really help us this year. And I'll be honest, I'd rather we have people who helped us this year first and do that a bit later. Ashley, how do you see it?
I mean, I think it's clever if they can get it done. If you do have an opportunity to buy an elite goalkeeper while the market is kind of low in the goalkeeping department, I think that's smart. But it's kind of like, if your house is leaking, but you then go buy like a new water heater because you're going to need to replace the water heater in 2 years, but your house is still leaking. And that's kind of how I feel about our team, where like we still have problems, and it's great future planning, but it doesn't really solve the leaky roof.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Kev, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it'll probably get done. Valencia's manager had his press conference today. Their manager actually, Ruben Baraja, right? If anyone remembers watching Valencia back in the day when Rafa was there, he was a hell of a player, an absolute brilliant centre mid, by the way. But yeah, I think this one gets done. I think it's hinging really, I think, on, apparently the valuations are pretty close. Valencia won 35 million, Liverpool are at 29, whether you believe the figures or not. I don't believe you get to a stage where you're talking about £6 million being a difference. £6 million a loan fee for this guy. It's no big deal. I think it's a case that because it's so late in the window, I have a feeling that Valencia are trying to angle that he stays there on loan this season. And then maybe they look to do a loan into the Premier League somehow, some way, shape or form next season. I reckon Liverpool want to try to do a deal where he ends up going on loan to a Premier League club and gets 2 seasons worth of Premier League football rather than 1 and 1. But if it's down to that, I think it gets. No, you can't do it directly, but there's ways and means because we've seen it done before.
Yeah. Okay. So before we talk about, we'll also talk about the Premier League in a minute. Actually, should we talk about Paul Joyce? Because he did an interview today for somebody else. Quite an interesting interview, actually. I'll actually listen to it. The way it's aggregated doesn't quite put the full context of what he said. So,
Yeah.
Because we all looked at it and went, I've heard the interview. The quote is not incorrect. The context of how it's been shown is incorrect.
I mean, that's Twitter in a nutshell, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's the snippet. So he was asked a direct question of, is it likely or could you see Liverpool making no signings before the end of the transfer window? My reading of it was, he does say it's possible, but it's very much in an anguished, like, you mean sort of over and over. It's like saying, could you see Liverpool signing, go back in for Zubimendi? Maybe, but that's not me saying it's definitely happening. It's just an anguished, it's a slim chance, but probably not. That's the way I read it, but I don't know. Maybe that was me being optimistic.
I mean, I think from his perspective, he has to be very careful what he says, no matter whether he's writing or if he's on a YouTube or a podcast or whatever. I mean, he's always going to be like slightly diplomatic. I also think he's probably been to some degree briefed to just keep his mouth shut on anything definitive.
Yes.
It doesn't serve the club at all to get any of these stories out anymore. Like, a few stories have leaked out. They've gotten egg on their face. At this point, just shut the doors. And if the transfers happen, they happen. But they don't need to be out. They don't need to be played out in public right now. It's not serving us any good.
Yeah, Kev, I mean, I think you may have sort of discussed offline a few times going, what's been leaked in the press hasn't helped because what we're used to, in all honesty, if Paul Joyce says something in the press, you tend to go, well, it'll be done in the next couple of hours. That's what happens. And this is probably the first time in a while Paul Joyce's tweets on, we've gone, oh, this has not happened. It's pretty rare it happens, which means they probably got a little bit too keen, possibly with these deals.
I think the Mamadashvili signing, the leaks came from the Valencia side.
End. Yeah.
From his end, the Valencia side, it wasn't coming. I think Joyce reacted later to what was going on, and the other, journalists who'd be the ones you'd look at, all reacted to what was being said coming out of Spain. So, and then nobody shut it down. That's the key thing when you're talking about Liverpool transfer stuff. Stuff that's absolute pure nonsense and drivel gets shut down really fast, usually by James Pearce. James Pearce has destroyed more potential signings than anyone on record, I'd say. But that's not really happened. The Zubimendi one really was, are you interested in coming? Yeah, I am. Okay, we'll go and pay your release costs. Right. If you want to force your way out of this club, you're going to have to go and do it yourself. And we're going to paint you as being the bad guy and the greedy player who just wants to leave your boyhood club for money. No, I really don't want to leave now. Sorry. Bye, Liverpool. Yeah. And that's that transfer in a nutshell. It's literally.
When you take a step back and look at his history, from my perspective, there was always a risk of that because he did it to Arsenal. He did it to a few clubs, but he didn't that. The bit that sort of sticks in your craw is they go like, there's nobody else. And I was a bit like, I'm like that going, but there are. And I think Neil Axon, the Rap, put a good way of looking at it, which is like, in Liverpool's pursuit of perfection, are they passing up very good? And said, you know what, sometimes very good's enough for what you need. Now, Paul Joyce in his interview sort of went into a bit more detail of why they like Zubimendi, and a lot of it was about what he does on the ball, stylistic, how he plays stylistically, and they felt he was quite unique in what he did compared to other sixes. That was the club's opinion. Whether you agree,
the club are wrong. Listen, anyone who's watched football for the last 5 to 10 years has seen the amount of clubs trying to copy Man City's style of play, building out from the back, building out from the keeper, playing through the thirds, using your six to build play. Anyone with an ounce of common sense will tell you that there are defensive midfielders who play in a double pivot who do that week in, week out at every club up and down. Every league has players who do that. Are they good enough, or are they better than what potentially we have at the club? Up for debate. But you cannot turn around and tell me that Martin Zubimendi, as good as at what he does, he is. Nobody can tell me that there aren't players out there who can do that job. Not in this day and age, not with the way football has been coached for the last decade. It's not like you're going to, I mean, one player, when we start talking about the clubs and where we think they'll finish, Nicholas Fulkrug, throwback striker, throwback number 9 target man. Those kind of players have gone out of fashion. That's why he's so unique and he's so rare, because there isn't many of those out there now. But there are plenty of ball-playing sixes, because it's the way the football has gone and been coached for that long. So nobody can tell me that they aren't there. Open the laptop, dust off your Optastats and find them, because they're there. They just need to be unearthed.
Just change the conditional format in the Excel sheet. Promise you, I'll show them how to do it. It's brilliant, and it'll be fine. That's all you need to do. Just change the little thresholds.
You can show me how to do it as well, actually.
I will, no problem. Actually, I mean, if we take them at the word that, and Paul Joyce was fairly not definitive, but as definitive as you can be, saying like he felt a midfielder coming in was unlikely. It wasn't really like other options. Then we know it's Hughes that's running. He did also let slip, or was happy to let people know that it has been sort of let slip now that Michael Edwards, while he's more senior now, is still likely heavily involved in the day-to-day. The Michael Edwards trick was, if he didn't get your number one target for that position, he went, well, I'll go and get best in class somewhere else in a different position, and I'll make another position stronger. So if you truly believe that they don't believe there's another person who can do the 6 all the way, Slot wants it, which is a bit of a kicker for Slot, because it's probably the only player he's requested by the sound of it, then go and get best in class for centre-back and solve your Virgil problem for a couple of years' time, and go get another exciting wide forward. There's two areas of the club boxed off for a bit. So next summer it is the main incoming is number 6, and hopefully only a number 6, because hopefully the other 3 lads have the contracts that she'll come to.
Yeah, I mean, I think like as much as we're all, I like the sounds coming out from Slot saying that he's happy with his team in terms of like the club dynamic being good, but I think there's no way in hell that you're going to win an argument that our entire team is so perfect that we can't improve, at least in one area or another. And, you know, the 6 thing, it still baffles me. We're going around in circles with it. But, you know, the idea that we're putting all of our eggs in our one basket with this guy that has kind of a notorious history of turning down big clubs feels like such a gamble to me. And it feels like, are you really trying to be that cute and that clever that you think you're going to be the one team that's able to get this over the line? And even if he was given that inclination from his agent, I still feel like, you know, going into that deal that there has to be a possibility he's going to say no, because he said no to other big clubs. And like, I want to believe that Liverpool's different, but at some point, like, you have to take the track record into account. So, you know, if they don't have another 6 in mind, they damn well better have a list of other people that can at least improve the squad. And like we were saying before we started, like, is that a right winger? Is that a center back? Is that, you know, someone that you can mold? I mean, I honestly, at this point, it's like we have Stockholm syndrome where we're like, I'll accept anything at this point. Just get us the signing over the line. So I don't know. I mean, it's tough.
I'm hoping. Now, Paul Joyce did also come out and say, I think this is a good thing for. This is just my advice. If you don't want to listen to it, sound. You know, it's advice is free. Is Paul Joyce did come out to say he expected Liverpool to be on lockdown now in terms of information, which is pretty much saying even I am not getting anything. So that was pretty much saying, if we sign someone, you'll know about it when you see him doing his medical. Outside of that, you ain't getting any links. So if Paul Joyce, and I'll be honest, you trust who you trust in, who gives you Liverpool information. You know, I'm very much of it. Paul Joyce says it, I'm generally thinking it's pretty solid. Most of the journalists are a bit more tongue-in-cheek. So if you know that, perhaps don't get drawn in with some of the ITKs. I mean, the Zubimendi deal should have shown you enough how much these ITKs don't know anything. I mean, I've literally seen them tweeting pictures of the cheque that Liverpool had signed to show the deal was done, and then 2 hours later it fell apart. And the same IT case then ask you what's going on. So, but look, you do you, you know. So, Ashley, stick with Slot though. I've finally seen his interview, you know, for his pre-match stuff. I thought he came across well. I thought he straight batted most things. You know, contracts was quite easy. Just said I'm not going to discuss that here. Bit more open on transfers than probably Jurgen was, which is fine. That's his style. But he still commanded a bit of aura in terms of he didn't really get too much involved in any of the silly questions or the little bit of shit stirring that, you know, look, that's what they have to do. That's the job. But he was very much like no, I'm not getting involved in that. You know, this is what I'm doing. And his question of when he laughs at the question about transfers, saying, well, you can do this with training, you know. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I just think it's a new way of saying these guys are really good. Because what he doesn't want to do is come out and say, oh, yeah, we need transfers because these guys are shit. He's not going to do that, is he? So this is where he said, I can improve all of you, which is what he sells himself on. But the fact he then says, but Rich is working really, really hard in the background to improve the squad. If you're not aiming to sign anyone, you're completely happy with the squad, then Rich doesn't need to do anything. He's going to put his feet up and just sort contracts out.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some kind of token lines that have been rehashed throughout the last couple of press conferences, whether it was the ones from the US or this one. You know, I think Richard Hughes has always been working behind the scenes, and it's been difficult to improve upon our players. You know, I think obviously he's new to he's new to English media, so I think he's probably going to lean heavily on his media training and not give much away. It's frustrating from a fan's perspective when you're talking about like trying to get little morsels of information. I would love to at least know, like, you know, with the contracts, like, oh, well, we're working hard on them, or like you can have a line, but basically not saying anything kind of says something in itself. And that kind of is worrying from my perspective. But yeah, I think he spoke well. I think I'm curious to see if that's going to stay or if he's going to slowly start opening up a little bit more. The one thing I'll say with his perspective on keeping the team together is that's probably very new for him. Like, I think a lot of his old teams were quite heavily picked over in the past. And so although we might not think that that's a really good thing and that that's sort of like a win in and of itself in the transfer window, he might genuinely think that way. Like, he might think keeping a team together with as much talent as we have, even though I, you know, do think it can be improved, he might think that's a win. So I don't know, just the other side of the coin, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, Kev. I know you messaged me saying you were completely frustrated and you were not a happy bunny.
No,
more and more about the context, but I thought the manager actually has come across quite well. I actually think because Liverpool have been the reason I'm quite relaxed on a new manager because I think he needs to give him time is because Liverpool pushed so hard that he is the head coach. Liverpool's first ever head coach. He's not a manager, and he put Richard Hughes front and centre for this sort of stuff with recruitment. I'm a bit like he's got such the perfect straight bat. What's going to happen with recruitment? It's to Richard, and Richard sorts it out. What's Richard said? Well, I'm not going to tell you. He can leave it at that, and he's basically it shuts it all down. Whereas Jurgen couldn't do that because he was more heavily involved in transfers, so he could give as much or as little insight as he wants. He can
my frustration is basically around the lack of business that's been done so far, and that's just that's festering. Every day that passes and every day that nothing happens is a day that my heart rate goes slightly higher. And it's a day that I can have less salt on my food because I just don't want to take the risk. I mean, you get to a certain age.
Get you some tablets for that, Kev.
But here's the thing. I mean, look, I thought, it was his first real press conference. Thought the questions were soft. And it was literally an introduction. You know, he's been a manager for 2 months. He hasn't managed in a competitive game yet. So we'll see what he's like after a couple of months. We'll see what he's like. I mean, it's all well and good in pre-season. Everything's gone rosy. No injuries. You know, he's betting in his new system. We'll see what it's like after he's been punched in the face a couple of times by some bad results. See how he reacts then. Then we'll start to judge. Until then, it's the jury's still... I mean, for me, the jury's firmly out on him because he's unproven at this level.
Yeah.
We'll see how he gets on. I mean, at the end of the day, he's been given a very good squad. It's a squad that ran out of steam in the last third of last season, but it's definitely a squad that needed help, and it still does need help. But it is generally a good squad, and he's got tools to work with. Does he have enough? No, not for me. But he will. We'll see who he can improve, and see what. I mean, the profile of players like Gravenberch at 21, 22, the physicality, the physical size of the guy. He has all the attributes to become a very good number 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, are we in a position with the size that we're going to be hopefully challenging for titles with, to be teaching someone on the job? We might have to, but at the same time, that's up to him. He's the one who's got to deal with it. He's signed the contract for the big bucks to manage in the big boy league. So we'll see what he's like when he puts his big boy pants on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rob McGuire makes a good point, saying hopefully they're just playing the cards close to their chest because they told us August would be a busy month. I mean, there's not much of August left, so we could all be dressed in yellow and getting really excited, like 3 signings. It could be like a few years ago. But hopefully, the hope will be batter Ipswich, get a win, and then it's announced we've got a couple of people lined up next week, and we go, right, fine, all calm, let's go with that.
It could happen. It needs to. Let's be truthful.
Which would be nice.
It needs to.
Which would be nice. And
it's not nice, mate. It's not nice. It's the bare minimum.
No, Kev, I'm going to do post for that shows. It'd be nice because it'll make it all a little bit calmer. Which, I'll be honest,
that's true.
I did watch a few of the shows last week. It wasn't so calm.
No, it wasn't.
I did.
The last third of the season was difficult. Very difficult.
I remember sending you a winky face during the middle of the week going, enjoy your shows. I just woke up while I'm off to the pub. Just left that with you. Cool. Yeah. Right, we'll talk about the Premier League in a minute, but before let's just a couple of I've got to do me admin link because I'm like Kev, I forget these sort of things. So we are sponsored by Football Prizes. So the latest deal they've got at the moment is $3.95 a ticket. There's 499 tickets on sale now, and the competition closes on Tuesday, the 20th of August at 7:30, and it's to win a framed shirt, Luis Diaz and Dominic Szoboszlai signed shirts, which looks pretty good. All the details are in the link below, so and it's also on our Twitter feed, X feed, whatever it's called now. So have a look. We've seen it. I think we've had a few people before reviews use this one. It's good. Good. It's $3.95, so it's worth a go. At our 2 charity partners, we have got the Lighthouse in Dublin, which is to help the homeless in Dublin, and then we have fan supporting food banks in Liverpool. The aim is to get to 10k, so 5k each. So again, all the details are in the description below. If you can give, please give. If you can't, just share it around social media, Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups. You never know who it touches, and the sooner we can get to that 10k total, the better. Right, Ashley, this is where you show me up because you're quite good at doing this thing. Let's talk about predictions for top 4 and bottom 3 because I'm crap at this every year, so not much else can change. Kev, you can start thinking about it. I'm sure you've been doing your research and all this. Who do you fancy for the top 3? Because I think 4th could be a debate, and then we'll go from there. So who do you fancy for the top 3?
Okay.
The order doesn't matter. We'll just say top 3.
Okay, top 3. Until proven otherwise, I am going to put Liverpool in the top 3. I'm going to stay optimistic. I think that's the way you should start a season. I think the other 2 pick themselves. I think it's Man City and I think it's Arsenal. And I think it's, personally, I think it's Arsenal's to lose this year. But those are the 3 I'm putting in the top for now.
Cool. I have also got the same top 3. I still think it's City's to lose because I am not convinced Arsenal will have enough goals in the crucial moments. And if they want to go deep in Champions League, we saw that's when it hurt them. And that's kind of when they ran out of a little bit of steam. Kev, who have you got for top 3?
Yeah, assuming the City judgment goes
this is as of now before signing. So we'll do a top 3. We'll do this chat again after the transfer window saying.
No, I'm thinking more along the lines of the City hearings when they happen and the results are found out. And
when they're playing in the Conference League, we can worry about that later. And I don't mean the European one.
It's the same top 3.
Yeah, I think so.
I have exactly the same top three. I just don't see the others have done enough to close the gap.
I think only one person so far has put Liverpool out of the top three and said Spurs third, which I think Spurs does good business. I'm not sure Spurs have done enough. And we've seen with Spurs' squad, even with the players they've added, the 3 games a week does eventually get to a point where it kicks them. And the Europa League is more demanding than the Conference League. So I do think the 3 games a week is going to catch someone.
We have that issue as well. I mean,
yeah, we do.
You go and look at the lineups for Liverpool in the group stages of the Europa League. We're not going to be able to put that kind of quality sides out in the group stages of the Champions League. So
unless you get a very kind draw.
Yeah. So the options for us to be able to rotate as much as we did last season in the Champions League is vastly different. And the other side of it is Arne Slot is used to managing in the Dutch league where they play 34 league games. They play a cup competition. They play in Europe, but generally they're knocked out relatively early. So he's used to managing. I think I read somewhere out of the 34 league games that Feyenoord played last season, he named 28 unchanged sides. Yeah, that's not going to happen playing for Liverpool. He's going to have to be very flexible in how he manages a bigger squad for a significantly bigger amount of games, and that's something he's going to have to learn and adapt to. It took Jurgen a while to adapt to that, and not every manager who comes into the league, I think, appreciates the levels of physicality needed to play at the highest level, the intensity that's required all the way through the league. That's why so many first-time managers, when they come in, they get found out in the second half or halfway through, the season, that it starts to mount up and injuries start to become a real issue. But look, I think the top 3 pick itself is just a case of the order, and you guys pick the order you guys want to go with.
Sorry,
I'll chip mine if you want to start.
Ashley's just put over the chat. It's really upset me.
Sorry.
Ashley. So we talk about. I said, at least we've got the Tuesday Wednesday thing again. We don't have to worry about Thursday night's football. And Ashley goes, some Champions League games we played on Thursday. Oh, you're having a laugh because you know what's going to happen. We'll play Thursday night, and then the DBT will put us on at 12:30, regardless. Oh, sorry, Kev. Who's your top 3?
I think Arsenal will win it.
Okay, I don't. But,
I think Arsenal win it. I think the age profile of that Arsenal squad that he's assembled was really young. They have last year's experience under their belt. They've added a left back, stroke centre back that they really did need to bring in that makes them better.
It was a weak area for them.
Calafiore strengthens them. And I honestly think that Man City need to do a significant amount of business. Do you remember this time last year? And I said Man City's squad was a bit thin. And I remember saying it. And they went on and they won the league. But they were nowhere near as good as what they were in previous years last year. And they've then gone and sold Julian Alvarez, who played 40-plus games for them. And they haven't brought anybody in. So I think they've got to do some serious business.
Especially with Oscar Bob now being out for
Oscar Bob
2 months, I reckon, isn't it? At least,
yeah,
with a broken leg, which is a bit pain. It's a shame for them because actually he was just getting into the side at the end of last year more regularly. And he looked quite good.
He looked good, yeah. I think Arsenal win it. I think City second. I think we'll be third. And I still think there'll be a gap. I think the top 3 sides are that bit better than everyone else. I don't see that gap closing this season anyway, not yet.
My reason for not fancying Arsenal is I still don't think they've got a 20-goal a season person. I still don't. And I do think that at some point you do need someone in the clutch moments. You go, like that for City clutch moments, it's Haaland. And you know it's Haaland. For Liverpool, clutch, you know it's Salah. You kind of know that. I still look at Arsenal going, Saka will get goals because Saka's a good player. I don't think he's hit 20 yet in a season. Maybe this is the season he does it. Jesus isn't a 20-goal season striker. He just isn't. he's a very good player when he stays fit, but he doesn't do that. And Martinelli's, on form, great, but he's too erratic. That's why I don't fancy them. I think defensively they'll be fine. They've got enough defensive players, and I just think when it comes to the crunch, Arteta does the old Guardiola thing. He tries to be too clever. I think catches him out. And I always felt when they struggled, which was November to mid-January, 3 games a week, and he didn't rotate properly. I think it caught them out, and then they struggled and they left themselves too much to do to catch City. I think City still always have that muscle memory, which helps them. Unless, I'm not wishing it, so unless you don't have Rodri for 3 months. And I do think that is the game changer for City, because I think he's that good. But we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Fourth, though, I think fourth's a good debate. Because if you look at it, Spurs look interesting with the bits they've done. Villa, surprise package last year getting fourth, but again, they're getting used to doing the Champions League in the new format. Newcastle, depending who they sign, but they've got no Europe. The last time Newcastle got top 4, they had no Europe to deal with. United have added some. They're also a conversation, and Chelsea are just wild. You just generally don't know what you're going to get. I mean, they've got literally 4 teams, so it depends which team they pick. Ashley, who's your money on?
I put Spurs in there.
Okay.
I think that the Solanke signing could be what makes their season actually competitive for top 4. I like the idea of moving Son back to the wing and having a central striker kind of like Kane in the middle that is just there to score goals. And I think that, he's had time to kind of bed in that squad and get that system going. I mean, they're still Spursy no matter what. But I don't know. I think they've got enough to at least be in the conversation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, listen, Spurs started well last year. The killer for Spurs was when they got a couple of games back to back. He seemed to struggle to get them out of a rut. Now, again, he will say, and there is a factor of injuries. But to be fair, United had injuries. We had a good run at them. And that's the other thing. My thing back to Arsenal, Kev, is, and that's my other thing is, can you sustain that level of free health in injuries? Just naturally, you're going to pick them up. I think they were. And listen, you look. If you get it that way, you get it that way. Kev, who have you got for fourth?
Aston Villa.
I think Villa.
Aston Villa. I think they're bought really well. I think they've sold who they needed to sell. They've got good money in. I think they sold another one today. Striker to Southampton. But I think the addition of Ian Maatsen at left back, Onana in the middle of the park. My worry is my worry for them is going to be Europe. But I honestly think Villa will go into Europe being happy to be in Europe. And the fact that there's no trap door that goes from
once you're out, you're out.
Once you're out, you're out. So if they get through and they get into the back end of the Champions League, if they qualify into the knockout stages, that'll be the bonus. That'll be the cat that got the cream. But I think the first half of the season with the group games, they'll be fine. They'll cope with that. And I just think that with Ollie Watkins up front, they've got a proven goal scorer who's going to be really dangerous. And I like Unai Emery. I just like the way he plays football. So
I think he's the best coach out of those that are challenging.
Yeah, he is. And he knows how to navigate a side through European football as well. He has that experience. Where I just think they'll have enough, and they'll have the experience of last year as well in their memory bank that they can do it. They've got a good, solid defense, very good centre mid options, a top class keeper in Emi Martinez, and they've got goal scorers. So yeah, I fancy Villa for fourth.
Look at Villa's squad, and I think this is a problem Spurs had as well. Is Watkins is great. I'm not disparaging Watkins. If he picks up a niggle or you need to rotate him out, who's the backup? Because I think Duran was, I don't know if he's there still or they were talking moving him on. But again, Spurs have this problem, which is if Harry Kane's not available, who's your backup? And that was always
They were earlier in the summer. Earlier in the summer, Villa were linked with João Felix. And whether they go back in for someone like him now that they've freed up a place, Cameron Archer is the one who went.
Yes, that's right.
So
he was on loan, wasn't he, at Sheffield United last year?
Yeah. So with him going, I think it frees up a squad place. That maybe they go out and they bring someone else in. I mean, they shouldn't have a problem being able to attract players of a certain level. And if you're looking at a João Felix with a loan, with an option to buy something like that, he could be the one who plays in the 10 or plays as a second striker, something like that. A player doesn't have to be of that quality, but you can go out and get a striker to help support Ollie Watkins, or to help rotate him and to help keep him fit. I think that it'll be a battle for him. I don't think Manchester United will be as bad. I know they were scruffy tonight. I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year.
I think they lack pace through the middle of the side. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, I think Spurs
in the defensive sense. Sorry.
I mean, Ashley, you were saying about Dominic Solanke. The thing is, with Dom playing for Bournemouth is a side who are built really to play on a counter-attacking style. That's not really Spurs' game. Spurs' game is more you dominate the ball. And is he going to be that player who can create enough space in the box in a tight situation, score goals at a top-end side? That'll be the test. They've spent big money on him. I mean, 65 million is a big fee. So I think it's the biggest fee paid for anyone so far this season in the Premier League. So it needs to work for him, but they do have options. I mean, Richarlison will get you the odd goal. Son going wide is huge for them. Kulusevski is another option. They have got some really good players. So I think it'll be a battle. Villa, Spurs, Manchester United, and you'd nearly throw Newcastle in there for their lack of Europe, but they're one Alexander Isak injury away from finishing just inside the top 10. So that's how delicately balanced that squad is at the minute. That's why I don't think they'll lose anybody between now and the end of the summer.
Well, that's the key for Newcastle is can they hold on to their key assets?
Yeah,
like if they can, they're at least in the conversation.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Newcastle, they've sold the players that they've sold earlier in the window that got them out of PSR trouble. That balanced them for this summer. It kicked the can down the road. They've got Sandro Tonali to come back in and anchor their midfield. I think at the end of the month, and that in itself frees up some of the midfield players that they do have, the likes of Joe Linton, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes. I don't think they're under any pressure to sell anyone as long as they don't want to bring anyone in.
What happens with the Guehi deal?
I think this is the fourth attempt that they've gone in for him with. It's 65 million, including add-ons. Yeah. I mean, if some of the add-ons are, well, we'll pay you this bonus if we win the league, some of those add-ons are absolutely nonsense. But at the same time, they're saying that they desperately need a centre-back and they desperately want it to be him. I think if they get him added to the centre-back options that they have, they'll be done for this. They'll be done for this window. I don't think they'll be doing anything else, which puts a massive amount of pressure on Isak to stay fit and healthy.
And the manager was coming out saying that he was implying they were going to have to sell someone to do what they wanted to do, like someone they didn't want to sell. So there was also that sort of implication. So if they wanted more,
it's possible that Man City go in and get Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah. And
they look to replace long-term Kevin De Bruyne with Bruno Guimaraes.
Well, how many of their center backs are injured right now? So is Botman's injured, but isn't Lascelles injured too?
Yeah, I think they both did ACLs, didn't they?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can see why they're looking for a centre back. I also think they want to
get one in.
I also think they want to move Lascelles off, which I suppose go back to the Liverpool chat. When they were looking at the PSR thing, you can see why if they were trying to offer us Gordon, why they asked for Joe Gomez or Kwanzaa as part in the deal, because that solves their problem.
You go back to the interview that Paul Joyce gave tonight. That literally was all instigated from the Newcastle side. It wasn't Liverpool instigating that, and that's why I was of his opinion that the Anthony Gordon stuff to Liverpool is kind of dead, because we might like him, but we don't like him £75 million like him. You know, we liked him as a case of, okay, if Joe Gomez goes there for 40 million and we can get Anthony Gordon for 30, it's a deal worth considering and mulling over and having a discussion about. But at a £75 million straight deal, nah, sorry, jog on sunshine.
Yeah. But the interesting thing, I suppose, them is
it doesn't fix a need.
It doesn't fix a need. But what may happen is if they don't get Gahey, or Gahey becomes too expensive. I mean, it's 65 million now. It's still
I think he's too expensive now.
Yeah. So then, do they go back to Liverpool going, is Joe still available?
We can't be selling Joe at this point in the window, though.
No.
Oh, no. All I'm saying is, honestly, I'll be telling if you're.
Yeah. This is where you know that gift that goes around?
Yeah.
Yesterday's price is not today's price?
Yeah.
That's the conversation you're having.
This is what Edwards has to go to Hughes going, if you want to sell Joe to Newcastle, that does not get signed or done until the other fella's through the door. You've got to prove you can actually get a deal through the door first, sunshine.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what Hughes has to do now is you've got to bring him in, bring one or two in now, and sell them later. Because we've proven we can sell players, so that doesn't seem to be a problem.
Well, we can't be like throwing names under the bus anymore. I mean, Endo, the reverse of the Endo chat today in the press conference, I thought was pretty notable, where it was all of a sudden, instead of Endo's surplus to requirement, it's, oh, no, Endo's been great in training today.
No, I don't think that I don't think anyone is leaving from here on out. I think the outs for us are done, unless someone comes in with a savage offer for one of the three who are going out of contract. Then I think we're done on the outs. It's a case of the ends. Endo can come in. I have no problem with Endo being in the squad. If he's coming in and playing the odd starting the odd game here and there in the league, and coming in to close games down with 20 minutes to go, no problem whatsoever. Absolutely. Really good player to come in and do that specific role. You have to have a closer in your side. No problem with that whatsoever. But you can't be depending on him for 30 league games to start. And that's what we need. We need someone who can partner McAllister to play 30-plus league games. And that's where we're short.
Yeah, I think so. So, bottom three. Outside of the three new promoted clubs, do we think that is the bottom three, like we all thought last year, or do we feel somebody's going to get sucked in? This is assuming nobody gets done for PSR, nobody gets relegated for alleged 115 charges and other things that are currently under investigation. I think legally I've covered myself there. So, Ashley, I'll give you that nice, easy one to do.
I mean, my big question mark is Leicester. Like, does Leicester get done for PSR or do they not? Because I think that if they get done for PSR, then they're in the bottom three.
Yeah, I think that's
3 points tops.
I think that's almost 9, like a done deal.
I don't think that they can recoup 9.
No.
They're the question mark. I think Southampton, with the business they've done or the lack thereof, I think they're down there. I think Ipswich Town has a ton of League One players that have carried them through the championship, and to have them now play in the Premier League, I have no idea how that's going to look.
It could be a bit like Luton or Blackpool back in the day, where they could just be like a really fun side to watch. I get the impression from Ipswich that they've got goals in them.
Yeah.
I think it's the other end you worry about them. I mean, for them, signing Calvin Phillips is ideal, because that's, proven Premier League player. Calvin Phillips needs minutes. He needs regular minutes. So, and he's gonna get that at Ipswich. That gives them a base to build around, which is a bit of a smart signing for them. And it's probably risk free because it's only on loan, so they're not picking up a chunk of his wages as well. So, Ipswich have probably got the best chance out of the 3, I would say. Because I'm with you. I think we know Leicester's going to get done for at least 3 points, maybe more for PSR, and I wonder if that might be just that's quite a hard thing to do, to say to a club you've got to aim for 48 just to get to 40. That feels like that's quite a stretch to do in your first season, I think.
There's definitely a few I could argue might get pulled into the bunch for sure, but I think like just from the offset, it looks like those three are the ones that they have to fight real hard to get out of that.
Yeah, I think the ones that are at risk is Wolves losing Neto and Kilman.
Yeah,
and they're still talking. João Gomez is a potential target for a few clubs. That's a bit of a killer. Okay, Palace. I think they're going to keep enough of their big name players now, which I think early in the summer it looked like it might have been Anderson, Gahey, and Eze going, but I think the Elise deal seems to have sort of stopped anything else going out, which is probably a good thing for Palace.
Yeah, I think Palace will be fine. I actually like their new manager, the way he finished last season, the way he set his side up. Elise apparently came off the bench tonight for Bayern and got an assist with his first touch.
Not bad.
Yeah, look, he came off the bench for Koeman, Kingsley Coman, and he was an instant hit, an instant success. The fans love him. But I think Palace have a really good ability to recycle players and to keep their squad fresh. I think they'll be fine. I think Wolves could get dragged into it a bit. You're right on what you said about the outs. They're significant players, Max Kilman, Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto, despite his injury issues, which are massive, when he's on the pitch, he's lethal. He's seriously quick. He's always a danger. He's always a threat. That's a big, big player to miss. Even the threat of him being there is enough to make sides play different against you. I think Forest could. I think, look, any of the three promoted sides that stay up will do really well to stay up. All right. Nottingham Forest could get dragged into it for sure.
I think Brentford too.
Brentford need to keep. If Brentford can keep Ivan Toney,
I think they'll be okay though.
Between Ivan Toney and Brian Mbeumo, they have enough there to keep them safe. But they have to keep Ivan Toney, and the fact that Ivan Toney hasn't moved by now tells me he's quite willing to sit out his last year of his contract. And the other side of it is, how will Fabio Carvalho get on at Brentford? Because I honestly do not understand that sign. I've seen Damsgaard go there and just fall away. I don't think Thomas Frank's setup suits in any way, shape, or form Fabio Carvalho.
I think it'll be interesting to see how his from the outside looking in, we kind of all have this idea of how he is as a player and a trainer. I think Brentford always strikes me as people that are giving 100% all of the time, more like than the sum of their parts. I'm curious if he can fit into that.
Yeah, I think, look, it was the big thing for us, for the players that leave for significant fees, okay, Jordan Ibe, Rhian Brewster, someone mentioned in the chat, Jerry mentioned in the chat, it was vital for us to have Dominic Solanke move for a big fee, because it shows that the players that we're letting go do have a high ceiling. It's just they can't reach that ceiling with us. So we need a couple of these players to be successes. So it encourages other clubs to come in and pay the 25 million or the 30 million for these players out of the academy. It keeps us ticking over. So I hope it works out for him. And it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. Does he fit in a 10? Does he fit in on the left, cutting in as an extra striker in a 4-3-3?
Well, he sees himself as 10, doesn't he? So but whether Thomas Frank does is another question.
That's the thing. I've never seen Thomas Frank play with a 10. So not out and out from the start. He usually plays with two strikers, or maybe Brian Mbeumo and Vissa coming in off of each wing. But Vissa is apparently on the exit. So, but yeah, I think they're the sides that are, I think, Forest, potentially Brentford, but Forest, Wolves, and I wouldn't rule Bournemouth out of it. I mean, Solanke scored 19 goals for them. They're on about bringing a guy in from Portuguese league. What's his name? Everneson or something like that. He's a Brazilian striker, but 40 million club record signing. They're on about bringing him in for. So he's one of the ones at that kind of fee for a club like Bournemouth. That's a signing that needs to work in a big, big way. But yeah, I think that if any of the bottom three survive, Jesus, I'd like it to be Ipswich, but they can start their run after tomorrow.
Yeah, that's really good.
They can start their charge up the table tomorrow and fight that goal difference, after tomorrow. But it'll be massive. It'll be great for football, considering they've come from League One to Championship to Premier League. It'll be great for football if they can stay up. Plus, they've got a young manager in Kieran McKenna who loves to play football. I've seen an interview with him, and I've seen a very similar interview with the Southampton manager. We play how we play. We want to carry on playing how we play. It's got to be the most naive statement ever made by a promoted side who plays football. Go and have a word with Vincent Kompany and see how that works out for you.
Well, but do I Bayern Munich?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
it works all right, doesn't it? You just get relegated.
It doesn't work out well for Burnley.
He nearly made it to Chelsea, didn't he? Playing that way, so
he might still live in Chelsea. You never know. You're only about 2 moves away from a Chelsea
move.
Give
him a month, he'll make his way to Chelsea.
Right. I was going to say quick ones. Top scorer. Top scorer is not Haaland.
Oh, top scorer is not Haaland. Let's say Salah. Ends last season with a bang.
Ash?
I don't know.
Yeah, say Nunes.
You know what? You know who I would love it to be? I don't actually think it's going to be, but I'm going to give him a vote. I would love it to be Jota. Because I would love to see him stay fit.
You nicked it from me.
I would love that.
Oh, Jota's top goal scorer in the league. Then we're sorted.
Do
you know what? If he stays fit for a full season, I think he could challenge Haaland. I genuinely think he could challenge Haaland to be top scorer in the league if he stays fit for a season.
He's definitely our most deadly finisher.
Yeah, and he will get plenty of chances in this side. That's for sure.
The other one I think that's going to be interesting is can Palmer reproduce what he did last season?
Yeah,
he's the other one I think that might be.
We haven't talked about Chelsea at all in any serious way. I mean,
it's because nobody has any idea what's going on.
I don't know, Kev. I think we need to give it 6 weeks to work out which team he plays. To be honest, assuming he makes 6 weeks.
Okay, let's just another quick one. Sack race. Who's first?
I mean, Chelsea could also be the answer to this question.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think Ten Hag makes Christmas.
I think Maresca's gone by October.
They've left themselves with so much to do. I don't know how you get that many players.
Who's the Dutch fella they keep getting in when it all goes tits up?
He's on the beach somewhere now.
He's got that bag packed for Chelsea just in case they need him.
Just in case. Oh, Gus Hiddink.
Gus Hiddink, that's it. Gus will just turn up.
I don't even know if Gus is with us anymore, to be honest.
Right, before we go then, let's talk about 2 weeks to go. So in 3 minutes' time, in 2 weeks' time, the transfer window will slam shut. What other moves do you see across the Premier League? And then we will talk about, do you see Liverpool making any? I think we will. I'll be amazed if we don't make any. And I'm not counting the keeper that we signed and we're going to see in two years' time. I mean, someone that impacts a squad today, if you know what I mean. Who wants to go first on that one?
I think we'll sign two. Don't ask me who, but I think we'll sign two. Don't ask me who, because I don't know Scooby.
Positions then, at least.
Positions, forward and a centre back.
Okay, I think the same. But I think it's one of those centre backs who could do what the lad at Arsenal did. Can cover a bit of full back work.
Yeah, so do I.
So Joe Gomez can be moved on. That's what I sadly think. For us to bring a centre back in who can be versatile, I do think someone will leave. Maybe it could be Sepp. Maybe Sepp goes.
Yeah, maybe, but that would be about it.
I think when we bring one centre back in, I do think one of them goes, and I think it'd be Sepp or Joe. I'd prefer it to be Sepp because we know what Joe can do.
I wouldn't be surprised if they look at someone like Inacio, someone like Hincape. Slotterback is the one I really, really want. Someone who can do that left-sided centre-back, left-back role, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Costas who does.
I'll be ashamed. I'm saying nothing. Actually...
Let me just mute myself there a minute. Hang on a sec.
I mean, that's what I would like in an ideal world.
What cost us to go? That's so harsh, Ashley.
Oh,
Timber-break. My God.
Clipped up immediately. No, in an ideal world, like if we did have a plan for the 6 and we can't get our plan for the 6 and there's no other midfielder on the face of the planet that will better our midfield, then you're only really left with 2 areas of the pitch that you can better. So, yeah, I mean, ideally, the ones that you want to see are the people that are going to study underneath Mo and Virgil to kind of come after them. I hope that's what happens, but I kind of feel like outside of the keeper that might come in that we'll discuss in a minute, I don't know if we get more than one signing. And I hate that. I really do. But I feel like we're at a point in the season where I don't know if he can get more than that over the line. Because he hasn't proven he can.
He hasn't got any over the line so far. I mean, I did like the fact that also the keeper we might get is going to go along to Bournemouth, his old club.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a deal he can get over the line, is because he knows the number.
That. Can you imagine being another club, like a Bournemouth fan, and waiting on the Liverpool structure to, like, whether or not you're going to do well in the season, for example? Like, because he could be a huge game changer for them. If he's in net for them or if he's in goal, like that could be a big deal for them. But I can't imagine having to worry about another person's director of football for my own team.
That's a very good one. Kev wants slotted back so he can play his favourite Justin Timberlake tune. There we go.
Don't even know, but I'll play it. I mean, next level LFC, but sell Sepp and bring in Gertrude. No, that's just not going to happen. You're not going to bring in.
That's homegrown out and non-homegrown in as well.
It's not just that you're not going to bring in a third right back, and it's just
unless Trent's going to midfield. Kev, your favourite subject, but we'll talk about that another time.
That's another day's conversation.
Yeah, Ashley, if we were going to bring one in, what position do you think it'll be? Knowing Liverpool, I would say it's probably a forward, just to wind everybody.
Yeah. I genuinely, like, based on the whole, like, we don't actually need them and we're trying to be opportunistic. I mean, like, keeper probably would have been the last on my list for what we needed. And probably forward would be, up there on, But if we could get someone that could cover some of Mo's minutes, especially with Doak going back down to the under-21s, he's not training with the first team anymore. Neither is Cade Gordon. So you have a place there for someone to come in and train with the first team. And I think that if you could get someone young and up and coming that's willing to learn off of Mo, like, again, I don't think that's our priority where I would spend the money, but if they were going to, I think that might be an option.
Okay. As if you say go get Kudus from West Ham. Are West Ham selling them?
I don't know. I don't know what they're up to because they're spending everything.
The thing is, West Ham sold Declan Rice for well over £100 million. He was a homegrown player. West Ham don't have to sell anyone.
No.
They spent huge money and a manager who's got it all to prove again. But they don't need to sell anyone. And that's just the truth of it. So whether you can get him out of West Ham at this stage of the window, I highly doubt it. And I think Man City are going to come up against that problem as well. I think it's going to take significant sums of money now to get a top-level operator out of a club.
I did think Kudus might have been going in to be the replacement for City for
Alvarez, possibly.
Yeah.
But I think it'll take big money to get him.
That's what I thought they'd do, but it's quite late in the window now to do no sort of deal. Yeah. So,
It's also who wants to be associated with City right now? Like, what kind of player wants to go there right now with everything that's looming over them?
Well, McGlinchey, there's Kay Gordon could be on his way to Swansea. Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yes,
Stevenson is also going out on loan.
Stevenson's gone. Yeah, he's gone to Dundee, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the Dundee clubs.
Kay Gordon needs a season of playing football because he was an exciting lad. He's just really.
So does Ben Doak.
Yeah, he does.
All of these kids could be. If you're going to send Stevenson out on loan, you have to be looking to send Ben Doak out on loan as well, because if they need to play senior football, they need to play senior football.
Where do you stand on Bacetic?
Unless you're bringing in someone in midfield, you don't have the bodies to let him go. You have to keep him.
Would you keep Morton?
Yeah, I would now.
I would now, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we'd have brought
that's a scary place to be.
I know.
Yeah, I think if we'd have brought Zubimendi in, I think one of them two would have gone.
Well, they said that Bacetic was involved in a flip-flop deal where he was maybe going to go on loan.
Yeah, which would have probably would have suited both parties because then Bacetic gets regular football after missing.
I think that could still happen, by the way. That if we do get someone in, that Stefan goes on loan if Arsenal finish the deal to get Mikel Moreno over the line. That you could see that kind of a triangle happen.
I don't know if...
It would only happen if we get in a midfielder. A midfielder for us would have to come in.
Would you want to be dealing with them after they pull all this shady stuff?
No, because they did what we did to Steven Gerrard for years. You know, every time the club came in for Steven Gerrard, we tugged on the heartstrings. You know, so I don't blame the club in this. The club are doing their best to protect their asset. You know, you have to dust that off, and if there's a deal there, and if you could send him to Real Sociedad, and he plays significant minutes for them in the way they play football, it would benefit us in the long run. You know, so I think that you have to look at it in a way that what's best for the player is that type of football, the way they play, suited to how we want our midfielder to develop. Then that's where he could go on loan if a deal is to be done. Because you never know down the line where you might want to deal with him again. So
yeah, but I'm with you. I don't think any of the what you class first team, start 11, squad options. I don't think any of them go out now unless we bring somebody in, because he needs to prove he can get somebody off the line. Because I wouldn't trust Richard Hughes at the moment to.
What
load up
happens
we didn't get him. We didn't get him.
If a huge bid comes in for Luis Diaz? I mean, like a 70 million plus kind
I think you tell Richard Hughes you get the replacement in first, and you tell Barca to wait, and you tell. But if Hughes and Edwards are as clever as they like to be led to believe they are, they should have someone lined up for that occasion, and it should be in the pipeline. That's the opportunity. Isn't that being opportunistic?
I would seriously love if that happened and turn around and say, right, you stick Pedri in the equation, or you stick Gavi in the equation, or you stick Cabrasi in the equation, and then we'll talk. Otherwise, it's too late in the window. Yeah, Oshie makes a point. Kvaradona is there to be got at. You know,
it's interesting that there's no movement on him.
I think it's the fee that Napoli are looking to get for him is what's putting everybody off. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, they're fighting tooth and nail with Chelsea over Osimhen, and you know,
if they sell Osimhen, then they definitely don't need to sell the other one.
I think the Napoli want to keep him as long as possible.
Don't blame him; he's brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you have a player like that, you do your level best to keep him.
It is. Right, before we go, let's see. We haven't done it for a while. Score predictions for tomorrow, 12:30. 12:30 kickoff. So, Kev, you go first. You know the rules.
3-1
as well.
3-1 win. I think we give up a sloppy one, playing out from the back. I think Jota scores 2, Diaz scores 1, Salah gets 2 assists.
Okay. I've got a follow-up question for you, Kev, but we'll go on there. Ashley, what are you going for? You're on mute, Ashley, sorry.
I'm going to go 3-0. I'm hoping for a clean sheet because I think that would be fantastic. I think Jota gets 2, Salah gets 1. Because it's, Salah, it's first game of the season. He loves scoring first game of the season.
Okay, well, I've got a wild one. Right. I'm going to go 3-1. Salah, Jota, Nunes, probably goes off his arse or something. And the goal we concede is not the first goal and it's not in the first 10 minutes. There's your wild prediction.
I'll take that.
So,
I like Sam's shout of the chant going around, the Reds have got no money and will still win the league.
Let's see. Right, so anyway, coming up then, so tomorrow, us three, plus Matt, will be back doing post-match reaction, and hopefully we're talking about a Liverpool win. And Slot sets the record straight of being the first Liverpool manager since Graham Souness in the 90s to win his debut Premier League game. That's a long time not winning the debut Premier League game, isn't it? And then on Sunday, the lads will be back for Fatback 4. So until then, thanks very much, everyone, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.